Welcome to today's workshop. Today we're going to be looking at the art of debating. My name is Bruce McLaughlin and I'm going to be guiding you through all of the skills that you need to become an amazing debater. During a debate, one speaker will take a position in favour of something. This is usually called the motion. The other speaker will argue against the motion. Many of the truly great debaters actually love to argue in favour of something that actually they really don't support, because that shows their skill as a debater. Here's a good example for you. So the motion is: this House believes that a tax on cigarettes will encourage people to stop smoking. Those that are speaking in favour of the motion might talk about health, the cost of the National Health Service, those kind of things. Those that are arguing against the motion might talk about personal liberty, freedom of choice, and those kind of things. Let's have a look at what a good debater does. Firstly, they will clearly identify what their assertion is. In other words, what they're speaking in favour of, or the what. Next, they might detail the evidence that underpins their assertion. In other words, the why. Often, speakers will talk about the urgency of achieving something. In other words, the when. They will also talk about how it would make life better. Better for the individual, better for the country, better for the economy, better in so many ways. In other words, they're going to describe the how. Finally, what most debaters will also do is tell you exactly why the opposing view is so wrong. Let's take a look at what some good debaters sound like. I've got some examples for you on video. I've chosen politics and religion as the subjects that pop up in the video. Please don't take offence to any of those. It's simply that they are always, as you can well imagine, topics that engender quite heated debates. As I said earlier, a great debater really can argue passionately on a subject that they simply do not believe in. As you watch the video, jot down some key words on your observations, the things that you see and the things that you notice.
I warmly welcome the Prime Minister to his role of answering questions, and I'm very grateful to him for finding time in his diary to do so. At some point he might consult the House about how these sessions change. I also wish him well in dealing with the massed ranks of his own backbenchers as they lose their political virginity. Can the Prime Minister agree today to compensate pensioners for any damage done to pension funds as a result of the windfall tax and changes in advance corporation tax which he might put forward?
Well, Madam Speaker, I first of all have to say to the honourable gentleman, yes, indeed we have a busy day, because this government, unlike the last government, is actually governing in the interests of the people of this country. But secondly, in relation to the windfall tax, if I may just say to him, the windfall tax will not harm pensioners at all. What did, however, harm pensioners was the implementation of the last government putting VAT on fuel. Precisely for that reason, we are proposing cutting it.
Jean Course.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honour to be called during the first Prime Minister's questions to make a serious attempt to question the Prime Minister in this House. Given that at present only one crime in 50 leads to a conviction, will my right honourable friend recognise the need to have both effective measures to prevent crime as well as a criminal justice system in which the public can have confidence? Will he tell us what measures the government will take to prevent crime?
Certainly, Madam Speaker, I will. My honourable friend is absolutely right. Indeed, today the Home Secretary is announcing a series of measures that I hope will have a beneficial effect on cutting crime in this country. He is, of course, announcing, first of all, that in respect of children between the ages of 10 and 13, then we do say they are able to tell the difference between right and wrong, and the law should be changed in that respect. Secondly, we are going to halve the amount of time it takes to get persistent juvenile offenders to court. And thirdly, he has announced a review of the entire youth justice system. Now,
is the Prime Minister aware of the widespread public concern about the growth of drug abuse in this country, with a five-fold increase in the number of drug offences over the past decade? Can he outline what the government's plans are to deal with the drugs crisis in this country?
Yes, Madam Speaker, certainly. As my honourable friend may know, we are committed to proper testing and treatment for all those offenders that have got a drugs problem. But in addition to that, as we announced before the general election, Madam Speaker, we are going to set up one particular individual, what we call the drug czar, that is going to coordinate all aspects of the fight against drug abuse and the link between drug abuse and crime. It is the fact, Madam Speaker, that in many parts of this country, as much as 50%, possibly more than 50% of crimes are linked to drug abuse. It is absolutely essential that we bear down on every single aspect of this problem. And by having one person who is going to be in charge of all aspects of coordinating government policy in relation to this, then responsible to the Home Secretary, we believe that we will give ourselves a far better chance of dealing with this evil in our midst.
Mr. Major.
The House will note that the right honourable gentleman replied in the generality but did not reply specifically and provide the House with the categoric assurance that I ask him for. Perhaps he will do so in just a moment. If this tax proceeds with an extra tax on gas, water, electricity and telephones, may I return to the point made by my honourable friend, the member for Esher and Walton? If that were to give rise to an increase in the bills for many people on low incomes in this country, will the right honourable gentleman follow the precedent of the previous government and increase the social security benefits to compensate for that? And if not, will he accept that the populist tax he proposes on fat cats would in fact be a tax that hits most those that have least?
No, Madam Speaker. No, I shall resist the temptation to say that was the soundbite, since I know... Since I have a feeling I used to use a few of those myself at one time. Madam Speaker, no, that is not the case at all. In fact, there is a cap, of course, on prices. Indeed, some of the regulators have already said that they would not consider it right for the windfall tax to lead to any increase in prices. I may also say this to the right honourable gentleman. The reason for introducing the windfall tax is clear. There is no doubt at all that excess profits, vast excess profits, were made. There is no doubt of that. There is no doubt also that it is absolutely essential that we give hope and opportunity to those hundreds of thousands of young people presently without it in our society today. And I think...
You shut up, man. Listen, China ate your lunch, Joe.
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that.
You know what?
Absolutely not true.
You're doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen. I hate to raise my voice, but I see it seems to be, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you?
He panicked or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
Ulster shall remain firm to the very end. Keep Ulster out of the south of Ireland. No! No!
For decades.
Sinn Féin are so stained with our blood that it would take 100 years to pass before you could acknowledge them as even decent.
But in 2007, Ian Paisley went into power with Sinn Féin, governing and chuckling side by side with the former IRA commander and Sinn Féin leader, Martin McGuinness. Ian Paisley.
There are some words from Holy Scripture, and it says, "We know not what a day may bring forth." If you had told me some time ago that I'd be standing here to take this office, I would have been totally unbelieving.
Change.
To know the Lord is the greatest thing you could know.
Ian Paisley preached at his East Belfast church for 65 years. His last sermon warned of eternal darkness and the terrors of hell. The fire and brimstone preaching carried to the end, even if the politics had changed beyond recognition.
I want to say that this wafer, after it is consecrated, the Church of Rome teaches, is the actual body, bones, blood, earth, sinews, and deity of Jesus Christ. The Lord Jesus Christ offered on the cross one full, complete, and never to be repeated sacrifice for sins. And he does not come down from heaven.
There were quite a few things to pick up, weren't there? And some of them were the complete opposite of each other. There was both respect, animosity and passion. People talked about facts, and of course they talked about categoric facts. There was a lot of humour involved in all of the debates. In fact, at one point you might have even seen somebody change their position. They talked about actions as well. We will do this, we will do that. They quoted evidence, there was lots of animated body language, there were quiet, authoritative voices, and there were loud, passionate voices. You saw politics, religion, belief, you saw personal things. Of course, you saw some of the things that make debate truly great, the interruptions that go on. There was also repetition of key points. There was probably exaggeration. You might also have noticed that nobody used people's names. They always used terms such as my right honourable colleague, the member for Greenwich West, my learned friend. And there was that quiet rumble, particularly in the House of Commons, when people are supporting something, when they're saying, here, 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 here. Let's start to test out your debating skills. I'm going to put up 4 topics, and what I'd like you to do is just jot down on paper some arguments that you can think in favour of the following. Public flogging of teenage hoodlums. Tax breaks for the super wealthy. The legalisation of marijuana. Free public transport for all. You'll notice that I'd deliberately picked topics that most people would probably want to argue against. That was to try and get you thinking, what could you say in favour of those things as a great debater, even if you yourself don't believe them? So you might have looked at the public flogging and talked about things like acting as a deterrent, setting an example. You might have looked at tax breaks for the super wealthy and said something along the lines of how they earn extra money for the country, how all the products that they sell generate huge amounts of taxes. For marijuana, you might have spoken about freedom of choice perhaps, or medicinal marijuana and relaxation. For free public transport, perhaps it's slightly easier, and you might have talked about how it would take pollution out of the atmosphere because more people would leave their car at home and get on the train. Hopefully you're getting the idea now. Let's have a look at the other side of the coin. Let's turn to the flip side and see what arguments you can come up for against the following. Think of some reasons why free school meals for underprivileged children might be a bad thing. What arguments can you come up with against a free-for-all national health service? How would you argue against an elected government? In other words, in favour of a dictatorship. Lastly, let's hear an argument or two against sending criminals to prison. Hopefully you're getting the idea of this debating lark now, because your mind is suddenly starting to think creatively about how you might have argued against all of the things above. You'd have looked at sending criminals to prison and said, well, it doesn't really change them, they come straight out of prison and they go straight back to crime again. Those are the kind of arguments that you need to put into your debates. Now it's time to have a look through how you can construct your debate in favour of a motion or indeed against a motion. First of all, state what the motion is. And remember, the motion doesn't change. There's only ever one motion, but you are either going to be arguing in favour of it or against it. So that's one of the first things that you should do. State your position. Are you arguing in favour or are you arguing against? State the facts. And remember, these might be exaggerated facts, they might be slightly one-sided facts, but you're going to use them in support of your position. Try and have something between 4 to 6 compelling reasons. Then you can say why the opposing view is totally and utterly wrong. As you draw towards a close, make sure you restate your position in relation to the motion. Make sure that the viewers are in absolutely no doubt whether you're speaking in support or against. Lastly, the call to action. Tell the viewers or those that are listening to the debate what they need to do to support you. So if you're a politician, it's to be elected. If it was a college debate like this one, then you're going to be asking people to vote in favour of the position that you have taken. Just make absolutely clear to them what they have to do so that you gain their support. Here are a few tips on actually delivering your debate. Make sure that you speak clearly so that everybody that is listening can hear every single word that you say. Use short sentences. Allow reasonable pauses for the viewers to digest the things that you have just said. Be passionate in the way that you speak. But remember what we saw in those video clips. A loud, passionate voice can express passion, but so can a quiet one, quietly and calmly stating the facts. If you have a key point, remember to repeat it several times. You've seen all the politicians do it. They say the same thing over and over again. And they do that deliberately so that it sinks in to your mind. And of course, use your hands, use body language to really add emphasis to the things that you're saying. Keep eye contact with the people in the room, those that are listening to your debate. And if it's being filmed, that eye contact means eye contact with the camera, and through that you'll be engaging with your audience. Make sure that you dress to impress. If you look confident, then you will sound confident. Take a confident stance. It's okay to have a script or to have some key facts and figures written down, but just don't make it sound as though all you're doing is reading it. Make sure you still use passion and keep that eye contact with your audience. For a longer debate, having a glass of water to hand might help. But I can promise you that alcohol won't. The real secret to good debating is, as with so many things in life, practice, 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 and practice. And when you've done that, practice, practice, and practice again. The next thing in the process is for each of you to write your script. I would recommend writing your script with your debating partner. That way you can bounce ideas off each other and work together in collaboration. Of course, follow the guidelines that we set out earlier on the debate construction slide. If you and your partner feel comfortable with it, then you could actually script some ad-libs or some heckling and build that into your debates so that it becomes a real two-way, I hate to use the word, but argument. Once you've got your script written, then please share it with Bruce, myself, and with David Douglas for some additional help and guidance. We really look forward to receiving those very soon. This is debate topic number 1. Higher education is a collaborative partnership where students and staff should work collectively with each other to maximise opportunities for success and to enhance the student experience. Therefore, students should have a voice in every aspect of their course. Arguing in favour of that motion, we have Ramona. And arguing against the motion, it's Alice. Our second motion: there is no difference between students aged from 18 to 21 or 21 to 60. All should be taught the same way. Attend all classes, take direction from the lecturer, and complete the work that is expected of them, operating to strict submission and examination deadlines. Speaking against that motion, we have Joe. And speaking for the motion, Mudassa. Debate motion number 3: students in a higher education environment, particularly mature students, should not need any support with their studies or assignment writing. They should do this under their own autonomous efforts, learning to be fully independent by using libraries and other such resources. Shamso will be speaking for the motion, and Fazli will be arguing against the motion. For the fourth and final debate, higher education students are experienced, mature adults. They should decide how and when they wish to be taught, ensuring their syllabus and learning outcomes are achieved. It is, therefore, incumbent upon the college to give the customer what the customer wants. Hakeem will be arguing against that motion, and Margaret will be arguing in favour of the motion. I hope that quick run through the art of debating has been useful to you all. If you do have any questions or anything that needs further clarification, please don't hesitate to contact me, Bruce McLaughlin, and I will do my best to help. Alternatively, please do feel free to speak to David Douglas, who will be equally delighted to help. Thanks for watching.